life has romantic moments. I'm not going to be like it doesn't. Life has romantic moments. However, it also has some really crappy moments. And it's important for us to not conflate those crappy moments as romantic because they're not. They're not. And just because someone does a romantic gesture and then treats you in a way you don't want to be treated, that does not mean the romantic gesture is the real them and the part of them that you don't like is the false them. No, both part can be them, but are you willing to put up with the bad side just because you occasionally want the good side? And in doing that, what are you teaching to your kids? What are you teaching to your daughters? What are you teaching to your sons? What are you teaching to your nieces and your nephew about what love means or what love really is? Hello, my wonderful gems. How are you? I hope you're doing amazing. If you're a returning gem, welcome back. If you're new here, hello, how are you? Make sure you subscribe to the vibe, and if you like what you're listening to, then please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so we should jump into the story. The story is actually from Reddit, and the title is I Need Advice. I Don't Want to Break Up, and I Don't Know What to Think at this point. Well, she's probably not going to get this advice, but we're just going to dive in. Ooh, I cannot see. I need my glasses. I'm a 21-year-old woman, and today my partner put their hands on me. We have a child together, a 2-year-old, and we've been together for 5 years. I called to file a report as he's slowly been getting more and more aggressive. I also had a video of him doing it. I didn't want to press charges, but the police didn't give me the choice and arrested him. He's currently released on conditions of not talking to me or coming near my house. I'm honestly devastated. I haven't eaten all day and I feel sick to my stomach. We were trying for another baby too. My period is due in a few days, so I'm not sure if I'm pregnant or not. I love him and I want there to be a chance that he can get better and we can be good again. But do you think that's realistic? My brain feels so fuzzy and I'm confused. I have the worst headache and I just wish none of this happened. Okay. Um obviously this situation is beyond me. Obviously this situation is beyond me. I am a YouTuber. I do not have the necessary, I guess, criteria or even life experience to be able to talk about such a devastating situation. So I'm just going to give a general advice. And oh my gosh, this is so heartbreaking. But I'm just going to give a general advice. And to be honest, I blame our society for this. And I just blame the way girls are conditioned for this. Because it's so heartbreaking that for some people, and obviously it's not her fault, right? This has everything to do with her abusive partner. By the way, she's 21, she's pretty young, and the partner in question is 22. And honestly, I just blame our society for this. And the way women have been raised to just value something is, and they think it's love. It's not love. There is no way a person you love would ever put their hands on you. There's absolutely no way someone you love will put their hands on you at all. It's unfortunate. But even parents, when they do quote unquote discipline their kids, they don't feel good about it. I mean, I'm not saying they do. That's how we got into this whole gentle parenting thing. But it's just like we really need to uncondition ourselves in thinking that there's a going back to, I guess, how time used to be when somebody puts their hands on you. I I don't know. I don't know. I'm speaking for someone who doesn't have experience in this, and this is not because I'm so special, blah blah blah. Absolutely not. But it's just I don't know. I haven't been in this type of situations to really try to understand the gravity of how the brain can even I I don't know. I'm definitely out of my element here, but it's just if you're in this situation or you have been in a similar situation where a partner has been physically abusive to you, I was going to say let me know, but then again, thinking in terms of my life and thinking in terms of the people I have strategically left around me, it's just once I even see an inkling of what might potentially be abuse, such as just a man raising his voice, I'm immediately turned off and completely cutting that person out of my life. So, this is exactly why I really blame society for this. I blame the society that raised girls, especially my generation, because I saw it, but my mom was like, absolutely not. But I saw it in TVs and movies where a little boy would hit a little girl and she would run to her mother and cry about the fact that she's been hit. And the mother's like, oh, it's because he loves you. I have such a big, like, disdain for a society that let that happen. That whenever, because this all starts in childhood. Most of the things we tolerate as adults all begin in childhood. These are stuff we have been trained to believe. There's a reason why. The reason why some women do not end up in physically abusive relationship is not because they're special. It's not because they're better than the ones who are not. It's not because of XYZ reason. It is simply because of the environment they were raised in. It is simply because of what was tolerated and not tolerated during their formative years. Does that mean they're better than the women who have been? Absolutely not. We are a product of our environment. Whether we want to believe that or not, we are all a product of our environment. Our environment, especially during our formative years, has shaped the way we appear as adults. I know you've heard this before, but children are literally sponges. They soak up everything around them. And I'm going to speak a little bit on myself. Right now, I live in the US, but I come from a different culture. And when I came here, the way people acted here was so foreign to me that I was just like, I'm not dealing with this crap. Why? Because I was raised in a different environment that valued different sets of values, different sets of beliefs. And by the time I came here, I already knew who I was as a person. I already knew I had a sense of individuality that when I saw this different culture that was a complete 180 of what I was used to, I just decided to reject it all throughout because I didn't understand. Nothing made sense. It was like right is left and left is right. But going back to this, and if you have ever been in a situation where you have been physically abused or mentally or psychologically, there's so many forms of abuse and our society has yet to catch up on that. But if you have been in those situations, first of all, I want to say it is not your fault. 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 A lot of people and society at large have let you down, and it is not your fault. However, now that you are aware of this, now that you're aware of the abuse, because I know sometimes you're used to maybe seeing your parents yelling at one another. And then you start getting into a relationship where you yell at your partner. You equate those bursts of arguments with love. If you're used to that, and then you meet someone like me or anybody else who isn't used to that, and that person comes with their different perspective and tells you a person who loves you would not do that, or a person who loves you would not treat you like that, you might feel, you might not completely understand it, but once you do get to that point where you know that you do not want to be talked to in that way, you do not want to be touched without your consent, whether it is a tap or any other type of touch. You do not want anything. Once you come to that realization, it can be very difficult, and some people might feel a sense of guilt or shame that they have allowed it. No, you didn't allow it. The people around you groomed you. Well, maybe not groom, but the people around you raised you up to believe that this was okay. And as a result, when you became an adult, you thought this was okay. You don't know what you don't know until you're presented with a different option, which is why I love options here. But simply saying you don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. That's not a guilt on you. That is not a shaming tactic. You simply do not know. If you don't know that people who love one another do not put their hands on one another, then you don't know. It's not something for you to be blamed on. However, when you do come into that awareness that it isn't something that's supposed to happen, I know it's very difficult. And obviously, coming from my perspective, it might seem a little bit selfish, but I think it is best to see the truth for what it is and not try to hide back in the fantasy of what you thought it was. And I think that's what's happening here. And I think that's what happens with a lot of women who happen to find themselves for one reason or another beyond their control, because I don't want to make it seem like it's your fault. Society already blames women for just existing nowadays. And they don't take ownership of how they raise these women. But so I definitely don't want to put blame or put shame or anything. However, I guess the one thing I never quite understood when I always listen to stories of abuse, any type of abuse, is where the person is always like, I want to go back to how it was. Because in my mind, I am like, what do you mean? The mask is off, the veneer is off. They are an abusive person. There was no back the way it was. That was a fantasy. That wasn't real. This is your true self. People reveal their true selves when they're in situations of high stress and high emotions. If you're in a stressful environment with a partner and they decide to lash out on you, that is who they are at their core. That is it. Healthy people, when they are in a stressful environment, will not lash out at you. Or if they do, they will immediately apologize and completely rectify their behavior. And it is up to you to give them a second chance or not. That does not mean that now you get to forgive and you go back and they basically do the whole routine over and over again. But point is, I understand I can kind of rationalize, but I guess I don't fully understand I want to go back to how it was. Because in my mind, again, this is from my perspective, because of the environment I've been in, because of the people I've been around, because of how I was taught in my formative years, that my perspective is the way it is. It's not because I'm special. Okay. I really want to put that out there. It is not because I'm special. And if you haven't been in this situation, it's not because you're special. It's simply because of the environment you grew up in. But going back, it's just like, I never quite understood that. I want to go back to how they were in the beginning, when, for me, and because of how I was raised, I'm just thinking who they were in the beginning was your representative. Who they were in the beginning was a mask. Who they were in the beginning was the person they wanted you to fall in love with and try to hide who they really are, because no one can really hide who they really are in a stressful situation. Your true self is always going to come out in a stressful situation. Now, this does not mean you give your partner stress and then you see them blow up and say, oh, you're a stressful person. No, that's not what I mean. But people tend to show their true colors when ish hits the fan. That's all I'm going to say. This doesn't mean anyone is perfect. All of us have our shadows. But you're always going to be able to assess how a person really is when things are not going right around them. When they feel like stuff are out of their control, how do they react? Are they more aggressive, or do they hit stuff? Or they might not hit you, they might hit a wall. But then again, if one day they hit a wall, then unfortunately the next day it might be you. I don't want to think that, but there's a high chance that that's going to happen. Or if ish hit the fan, are they the type to exclude themselves? Because for some people, excluding themselves might be healthy, but if you're the type of partner where You need to talk stuff out with your partner. Excluding yourself might not be the best way to go about it. So it's just, there are a lot of stuff that happen, and I really want women, men, but mostly women. Okay, this is I've mostly seen this with women, but I really want women to open their eyes to the truth. In this situation with this young lady, I don't even know why she's thinking about having a second kid with this guy. It's a lot. I understand there was obviously love, there was obviously affection. He obviously did some good stuff. However, someone putting their hands on you is a big no-no. And not only that, if your child is growing up in an environment where mommy gets hit on a consistent basis, she might start to believe that that is love. And the cycle would just continue over and over again. Not because you taught her that that was love, but that's what she saw. You might tell her the complete opposite, but that's what she saw. And she might even tell to herself that she would never end up in a relationship like mommy, but that's what she saw. And it's very important that we are more mindful of how we raise children, because children will listen to what you say, but they're mostly going to follow what you do. Children will listen to what you say, but they are mostly going to follow what you do. If you are willing to live in a household with someone who is like this, who does not treat you in a loving manner, but you call it love, now you're going to cause some type of dissociation in your children to believe that when I love someone, that means they get to treat my body any type of way. They can physically harm me or mentally harm me or psychologically harm me. Sometimes it's not just physical, and vice versa. I think it's very important, and I can understand how it can be so terrifying for having someone you love do something completely just disgusting. But I also think it's even more important to not close your eyes to the truth that's in front of you. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to see stuff as the way they are. We want to romanticize stuff. And if you're a girl right now in 2024, we grew up on Disney. We grew up on rom-coms. We grew up with these stuff that tends to romanticize stuff. But life has romantic moments. I'm not going to be like it doesn't. Life has romantic moments. However, it also has some really crappy moments. And it's important for us to not conflate those crappy moments as romantic, because they're not. They're not. And just because someone does a romantic gesture and then treats you in a way you don't want to be treated, that does not mean the romantic gesture is the real them and the part of them that you don't like is the false them. No. Both parts can be them, but are you willing to put up with the bad side just because you occasionally want the good side? And in doing that, what are you teaching to your kids? What are you teaching to your daughters? What are you teaching to your sons? What are you teaching to your nieces or your nephew about what love means, or what love really is? It's just, there's a lot. So if you've been in a similar situation, please let me know. If you're navigating a similar situation and you feel comfortable sharing your story, please let me know, because it's just, I'm completely out of my element here, but I really want to understand. And I think I was able to formulate my perspective as best as I can, but I wish you all the best. I wish this society was more loving, but more importantly, I wish we would love ourselves more and know exactly what we want, to not tolerate the stuff we don't want in our lives. But yeah. Okay. So that is it for this episode. Please let me know what you thought in the comment section below. And we usually get our stories on our website, which is kitchentableadvice.com. This one was from Reddit, so she's probably not going to see it. But that's why we usually get our stories, as well as business inquiries. The website also has a plethora of other stuff. We have blogs about anything and everything. We have poems that I just take a turn, as well as art that I have labeled Weird Contemporary Art. So if you want to support me or if you just want to see the website, then please feel free to check it out. Again, it's called kitchentableadvice.com. So thank you so much for spending your day with me, and I see you next week. Bye.